All right, we left off. You were talking about getting from New Jersey to the Queen Elizabeth,
Okay, yeah.
and what's going on with that?
Well, I was full of vigor and vitality.
So someone else would describe it as other stuff in vinegar, but
Right. At 18, I went in at 18, and up the gangplank, and I was anxious to go, so I ran up the plank.
were you carrying a weapon?
Not that time.
They didn't issue weapons at that point.
Not at that point.
All right,
That's another interesting spot though. Got across the channel, landed in Birmingham, England, on the west coast of England. Took a train, one of the old-fashioned trains, which had the aisle down the side of the train, along the windows, and the cabins back.
Oh, okay.
So that was converted to a troop train.
In England. What month did you hit England? You remember?
December
So it was
16,
chilly.
1944. We took a train from Birmingham, England, down the west coast to Southampton, and we boarded what some of us call a limey pig boat. These were troop transports across the channel. So we landed at Le Havre, France, on the northwest coast of France, and took a.
I mean, pig boat.
Well, that's the one we took across the channel to Le Havre. But at Le Havre, one of the first things they did, John, you passed it by a while ago, not knowing that, but we had to get a weapon there.
Oh, okay, that's where you got issued. All right.
Yeah, now the way at that time, and probably even today, weapons, rifles, and that's what we were getting to start with, came in boxes about this long, rifle size, so, filled with cosmoline. These are packing grease, this thick, heavy grease that they put in your hubcaps. That's the way they packed rifles at that time.
Huh.
Then you had to work to get through the crowd of guys, all around 55 gallon barrels of hot waters that they had heated up to grab a cosmoline and dunk it into the barrel to get rid of the grease, the packing grease. And half of us, we had to, I've forgotten the terminology, we had to sight the rifles, get them lined up. I've forgotten the terminology.
Zero them? Foresight or?
Yeah, that comes back from a lot of years. But during the packing, some of the sights were like that, you know.
Yeah.
So
Some things don't change.
and then before that, they had these what they called casernes. They were big archways over which trains would pass, and in the archways they had big piles of the most equivalent thing that today is these in the barbecue, these little nuggets.
Charcoal.
Charcoal. Son of a gun.
Yeah.
I knew there's a good reason we brought you.
They were at that time little charcoal things about that size.
Mm-hmm.
So we were happy to see, like I said, John, in December we landed. So that was a welcome sight. The Germans had been chased out. Another digression. From the troop train in Camp Roberts, I landed on June the 6th, 1944. That was the day of the invasion, D-Day invasion. So that first thing they told us, well, it's happened today, guys. Forget about transferring to any other branch of the service except paratroopers, CBs, Rangers. Otherwise, you're going to stay with us. And we were. So back across the channel, it was still cold. We got in these big archways and would put our bunks down there, packed bags, and try to heat up these clunkers for warmth.
Yeah.
But the Germans, very cleverly, they were very clever people.
Mm-hmm.
They filled a lot of them up with explosives.
Oh, the charcoal briquettes?
Right, you're right. So when the GIs would put them in, along the caserns, all along the way, each one of them had their share of charcoal briquettes filled with explosives. So we lost some casualties, had some casualties there
Wow.
for that reason. Then we fought the Battle of the Cosmoline and sighting and zeroing in the rifle.
Mm.
And then they assigned
Now
us.
you're in France now, right?
Right.
And this is about what month? It's still December?
Still December.
What kind of weapon were you issued?
Well,
Was that
an M1 at that
a
time.
greasy
Grand.
one?
M1. Grand.
M1 Grand.
Yeah. I had other weapons at a later time, but that's what they issued the GIs to start with. Then they put us on 40 and 8s, famous from 1917, the war in the First World War One. They traveled from the camps and staging areas across to the front lines in 40 and 8s. I don't know whether you've heard of them or not.
I've heard of them. Is that just
Okay,
the dimensions of the?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
They were freight cars of a size to fit 40 men and 8 horses.
Oh.
So that's where the term came from. And that's the way they traveled troops from the front in World War I and II. And that was the latter part of December, John. I was 19 on December the 28th, 1944, on a 40 and 8 going to the front. And at that time, the Germans had lost most of the strength of the Luftwaffe, but they had Midnight Charlie. This is the one guy who would be up there strafing everything moved. So we came under aircraft fire on the way to the front.
Just one guy would just go out and some yahoo and go out and start shooting
Right,
stuff.
right.
That's one way to do it.
Another amusing, but not so amusing thing about the 40 and 8 was some of those barrels, those 55 barrel drum filled with water that we used to clean out the cosmoline from the rifles. We emptied those out, put them on the 40 and 8 tray right up in the middle, and got some of those German briquettes, and would stop along the way and would tear down fences and anything that would burn, put them in this 55-gallon drum in the middle of this freight car, 40 and 8. And I don't know where, but some guy in our outfit came up with a pipe, a stove pipe, and rammed it into the side. We had bayonets, you know, so no problem making a hole through there, put the standpipe through there, and started the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And the smoke would go out the side, very clever.
Yeah.
But the problem with that was that pipe stuck out from the car 4 or 5 foot.
Oh, great.
And we went through some, but the first one is the only one that mattered. The pipe was sticking out and we went through a tunnel in the mountain. So the train, of course, hit this stovepipe. The other end of it went that way.
Yeah.
And
You got a fire going all around the inside.
we had fire, smoke, everybody
Oh.
coughing and choking. And we were wearing those greatcoats, so-called wool, and they were burning.
Yeah.
And there were some guys got scorched.
Oh man.
It was quite a scene. Kind of humorous later, but not
Right,
at the
not
time.
at the time.
No one's laughing right then.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of those situations.
It's one of those good ideas.
All right, so you're in France and you're heading. Now, you part of the 84th at this time?
No.
You're not assigned to a unit. You're just going to the front.
Right.
Okay.
And that took us to Aachen, Germany.
There we go. Oh, yeah.
Aachen,
Yeah.
A-A-C-H-E-N, which was the first northwest city captured in Germany, and which is the northeast corner of France. That's where they came together.
Was that the were you in the Battle of Aachen?
No, that was before I got
Before you.
there.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, because I think that one started. Then there was I don't know where my papers went, but I had some stuff written down. There was a battle that went from September to February. The Battle of Bulge started in December.
December the 16th,
Yeah.
1944.
And where were you at that point? You were just
I
still
was on my
traveling.
way to the front.
Oh boy, you were fresh meat.
Mm-hmm. You know, what happened, I was going to give you a sketch so you can see, but I'll just have to draw it to you verbally, what the bulge was. The Allies had chased the Germans, that's south, and this is north in Europe. That's Germany, and this is France, and the Channel, and Italy. So the Allies had chased the Germans after Hitler and his people had chased the Belgian, the French, the Luxembourg people out over to the English Channel, and that's where Dunkirk happened. They had, I've forgotten the number of English troops primarily who were chased out of France up to the Channel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when all of these hundreds and thousands of British and other ships came over to pick up the guys from Dunkirk. But then
That's Angie.
that Angie, okay. So
Okay, you're now just. I think you left us December 16th. You're still heading towards the front.
I'm trying to describe the bulge.
All right, yeah. It was a German. It was their last big offensive, the Bulls, right?
I'm sorry.
There was the last German offensive. They were behind their own. They were in Germany. They were massing up.
Yeah, I can pick up there again, Germany and France and Belgium up here. So what happened after the Allies had chased Germans back into Germany, after so long of a buildup, they had tank corps and I don't know how many thousands of tanks. They were building up preparatory to jumping off into, they were headed toward Antwerp.
Right.
A major landing point on the coast of France. So they started out, the only division I remember who was there was the 106th Infantry and the 84th Infantry. And they went from the Channel, the North Sea down to Italy. And so the Germans came in this way. But what they did, I don't have the right kind of arms,
Yeah.
what they did came from France and headed toward Antwerp and back up this way. That was the bulge across Belgium and France. And they ran, like you say, John, they had thousands of the two American divisions that I can remember lined up there, strung out for 100 miles. So that was pretty thin.
Right. So they poked at a weak point.
Oh yes, which was most of the west part of Belgium and France.
Now, what was the weather like? The weather was real big factor because we couldn't get any airplanes out because the weather was so bad.
It was bad.
What kind of weather?
Overcast.
Overcast.
Overcast so much so that the Allies could not send planes over to support the tanks and the infantry and the other vehicular traffic until it broke. The weather broke. Then the British 9th and their Air Corps and our Air Corps then opened up. I mean, with their supporting of the ground troops.
You remember what they were flying and all? The P-47s.
The P-47s, I don't know whether any P-39s were left or not. Most of those, the P-38, 39,
Yeah.
P-38s they had some of that.
Twin Fluchons. Yeah, those things had, what, 50 cal cannons in the front?
Yes, yes.
And then, of course, the P-51s were for more escort, bomber escort, so those
For
probably.
bombers, right. Yeah, the Allies had sent over, they sent as many as 1,200 bombers over Germany, the Ruhr and other manufacturing, but they lost hundreds of bombers were lost. But the P-51s were the, what bombers call them? Little,
The Guardian Angels or something?
yeah. So that opened up for the Allies later, June 6th to come over. But when the Germans were lined up along the German, France, and Belgian border by the hundreds of tanks and everything, they plunged in, creating a bulge, but along the way, they met some stiff resistance of the 101st Airborne at Bastogne.
Mm-hmm.
Bastogne was a place where they had 5 different major highways converging at Banto, and the General McNulty, something like that, General McNulty. Anyway, the Germans sent a surrender team over to this general to tell him surrender white flag. You got to surrender. So McNulty's famous answer was nuts. Now, can you imagine that for a historical statement? Nuts.
Yeah.
But you got to go back to what's this nuts? That's almost as profound as the guy who first landed on the moon and said one giant step for man, and one step for man, one giant step for mankind.
Yeah.
And I thought for once in a forever time, that was pretty less than bright.
Well, yeah, I think that was scripted. He didn't just get to pick that.
I think so, John.
Oh yeah, you know that.
Yeah. But
So where did you? What part of the Battle of the Bulge? What kind of actions did you see? I know you told me about how cold it was, and
oh yes,
Snow on the ground?
I'm sorry.
Snow on the ground?
Oh, snow on the ground. Hey, depending upon where you were in the first place, there was snow all over in winter, Germany, all over Western Europe. But where I was and other places, depending upon how tall you were, the snow was up to your, if you were a tall guy, the snow might be up to your knees or thighs. But if you were a short guy, vice versa. If you were a short guy, the snow would be way up here. For tall guys, it would be way down there. So yeah, there was a lot of snow, and I personally went back to the hospital later during the winter, 2 times with frozen feet.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the guys got gangrene. Their feet were black because of the cold, 40 below zero at times and places.
Wow.
And
so what was the day like there? Now you're with the 84th. You're in the Battle of the Bulge. Are you seeing any action, or are you
on the way. You see, I went in as a infantry replacement guy. And the 84th Infantry Division lost, they were on the line, they lost hundreds of guys, so I was one of the fellows that's coming up to replace them on the front. And when we got up to the front, then they'd parcel the replacement guys out to different units along the way. I was assigned to the 84th at that time, and I and my, who came to be my household buddy, guy, a milk guy in Kansas City, bottled and sold milk. Anyway, we got into this unit, which was turned out to be Company A, 333rd Infantry, 84th Infantry, the 333rd Regiment of the 84th Infantry. The first thing they had been hit. They had been blooded, so to speak. So we went in to replace 2 guys who had been killed, and the first thing they told us, I guess it was the platoon sergeant, well, welcome here guys and all that. We've lost the enemy, so what we want you to do is go out and find the enemy. Go out and find the enemy.
The new guys.
So Lloyd and I go traipsing out to find the enemy.
What was your signal if you could find him? What were you supposed to do? Yeah.
hurry back and tell them.
They're over here?
So, when we were going down there, I told Lloyd, I says, what we're gonna say to that guy is, you lost him, you go find him. But you don't tell that
No, you don't.
to an officer in the military. But anyway, further down,